Cindy. This is not the first time that Cindy has set up events for me and hosted me and done such a wonderful job. During the Bush-Cheney years, as many of you know, the powers of the president that were already quite a bit beyond the constitutional prerogatives expanded dramatically. The power to make war is in the hands of the president. The power to spend money, the power to act in secret, to make treaties and appointments without Congress, to grant retroactive immunity. The power to write laws is in the White House, right? At best, the president tells the Congress what law to write. Congress doesn't write the laws. And if they get something wrong, the president fixes it with a signing statement. And I thought that was bad enough. If you read this book, I don't go easy on signing statements, rewriting laws. President Obama campaigned against that and then did it for the first 5 months he was in office, and then in June stopped. And I couldn't figure out why he stopped. Does anybody know? A couple of reasons. For one thing, the Republicans now all of a sudden didn't like signing statements, so there was bipartisan, unanimous opposition in Congress. Not that they were really going to do anything, but they were making noises about it. And secondly, the president figured out a worse way to do it. If something has already been signed and statemented, he doesn't sign and statement it again. He just lets Congress think they passed a law while not complying with it. And if something hasn't been dealt with in a signing statement or an executive decree, he goes to the Office of Legal Counsel and says, can you write me a memo legalizing violation of this new law? And those memos don't have to be public. Signing statements at least are public. At least when you go accept a Nobel Peace Prize and declare the right to aggressive war, it's public. At least when you stand in front of the Constitution in the National Archives and toss habeas corpus in the trash, it's public. But when you undo laws secretly, as Bush and Cheney established the practice of doing, it isn't even public. There was a gentleman by the name of J. Biden who was in charge of the Office of Legal Counsel. And he put his name at the bottom of not just memos that became laws legalizing the crime of torture, but the supreme crime of mass murder, aggressive war at the whim of any president, laid out in a lengthy treatise, with the primary argument being Bill Clinton did it, sort of. And his name is at the bottom. And he did it because he made a deal with Bush. And he wanted something. He wanted to be a judge. He wanted to decide which laws to keep and throw out instead of Alberto telling him. And he has a lifetime seat in the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, which sits in Seattle, Portland, San Francisco, and Pasadena. Torture was a felony under U.S. code before Bush came to Washington. And any act of complicity in torture, such as writing a memo to excuse torture, was a felony under the U.S. code. It's a statute. It's a U.S. law. It's a felony. No question about it. And we went through this whole charade for years of, well, should Congress ban torture? Can Bush undo that with a signing statement? Should they ban it again with an exception for the CIA and so forth? And then Obama comes to town and he says, well, I'm going to ban torture with an executive order. And it sounds like a good thing. Nobody likes torture, right? But if something's illegal and a president claims the power to ban it, he's also claiming the power to unban it. And the new head of the CIA and White House advisor David Axelrod and others have made clear that this president maintains the right to torture if he wants to. He's just not doing it right now. Although, of course, torture is ongoing in numerous locations because he not only said, I'm banning it, he said, I'm refusing to prosecute it. President Obama is very unlikely to sanction torture. Well, you know, it ought not to be unlikely. It ought to be illegal. Well, there's quite a question about what's a law and what's not a law these days. You know, I mean, the Constitution is supposed to be the highest law, and we routinely violate huge sections of the Constitution. We have laws passed by Congress, which is the routine way of making laws, that are altered by signing statements by presidents. Now, you can say, well, that one's the real law, or that one's the real law. My point is that these secret memos, which are not a traditional way of making laws, are not a constitutional way of making laws, are not a representative way of making laws, have been treated like they are laws. And when the new president comes in and the Congress does nothing and we do nothing, and the new president says the people who wrote those memos must not be prosecuted, they were doing their jobs, we have to look forward. And we'll think about maybe prosecuting some people who strayed from the specific torture recipes in those memos. You're strengthening the idea that there's something respectable about those memos, that they carry some kind of force of law. They're in effect, de facto, they're laws. Now, you can say, you know, they're not real laws, and I'm with you, I get it, but they're treated as laws. And we know that the current president gets memos written by that office to undo new laws by Congress because there are public ones. We don't know how many and what sort, if any, secret ones have been written in the past 12 months.